In this video, we are going to cover everything A to Z, including a live trade execution on NVIDIA here on Friday. Essentially how we captured this move from this move down here, selling all the way up into here. Everything is going to be covered A to Z. You're going to see live executions. As always, I hope this video helps you guys. Let us know down below if you'd like to see more of this content. This is going to be an example of what I refer to as a back through open setup. And I'm going to run the clip of the live executions, and then we're going to go in step by step and break down NVIDIA. Why was NVIDIA on watch and why we ended up taking the back through open setup on it. So the one thing I want to preface this with is the back through open setup is a great setup if you know the parameters and what to look for and the specific stocks to look for this on. Now, what you don't want to do with a back through open is just force this on every individual random setup. So that's why I'm going to be breaking down in depth why NVIDIA was on watch, and really a helpful tip for you guys to maximize your potential on day two earnings moves. So let's run this here. And this is going to be executed on Friday. I believe this, I risked like $800 on this in the end total. I think it was like $2,400 or $2,200 or something like that. So roughly a 3-hour trade that really was a nice follow through on this. And the risk management was really, really good on this in terms of being able to raise up your particular stop. So the back through open setup is a general basic concept of one, we get an open above a level. So we can see we are opening above this key 117.89 area. And then we get a move lower followed by a reclaim of the opening print. So the opening print is that first specific price or that first price that we trade on the day. And I have an indicator. It's just the daily open on Thinkorswim that's going to plot this line for me. So what I'm doing here is yesterday, and I'm going to break down the specifics of this particular setup, but just wanting to show you the execution on this is I'm looking for this to get back through open here because this is a slam lower. And why is the back through open so important? Because a lot of times stocks will make their low or their high within the first 5 minutes of the day. So if we can capture a trending move on the first 2 to 5 minutes of the day, you can catch giant trending moves. And like this one, we took this from 118 all the way up into 123. So this is the entry trigger here where we get the slam lower, we get this back through open. And you can see I'm trying to get this to fill. These spreads keep going, like it just went from 140 into 160. So I'm trying to be patient, entering in a limit order here. I don't want to pay up on the spread because you can see this thing is just skipping around. So I'm going to be patient with 18 contracts. I'm trying to get this fill here at 150 on 16. And I actually end up adding to this. So now I'm in this position. So this is the back through open. You could put an aggressive stop right here. I'm personally going to let this do low of day since it's already moved a decent amount. So my stop loss is going to be right here, which on the premiums is roughly $1, maybe a little higher if I probably would have stopped out like right in here. So with that being said, I'm in this position. What are my targets? 120.11, potentially into 127.62. And I will cover step by step the trade management technique that I used on this. So now I'm in the move, and this is the part where it's like you know your stop loss, you know your target. Now you just have to execute. So getting this to move higher here, and I actually ended up getting another 1 or 2 to fill here at like 140s. So what I'm doing here is I'm watching how this goes, and one helpful tool to use is a Fibonacci retracement tool where you can put in your entry stop loss and calculate risk to reward. So like 350% here is like 2.5 R. So what I'm looking to do here is we've got a decent move already. So there is my first exit on just 1. So 1 out of 18. I'm just trying to lock in some cash flow on this trade. As it moves in my favor, as we get this push, I'm locking in a little bit. Now, the R on that exit is not good, right? It's only a 1R exit, but it's also 1/18 of my position. So having multiple contracts allows you the ability to be able to do that. So now we end up getting a pullback move here, and I'm still in those 17 contracts here. As we get this next push higher here, as we show this prior resistance, I'm going to be taking another one off here because we're putting in this higher low off of the open right here. And I'll go to the exact breakdown here after this, but I'm going to be covering a little bit more here into this move higher. And you can see, let's go back a few. Let's see, go ahead and then go back. Okay, right here. So we're breaking this high of day here, and I'm just trying to protect my risk, lock in some cash flow here. And as we get this push through this high of day right here, you can see filling at 192, just one contract. Now, let's fast forward this a little bit. We end up getting a little bit of range. We just come back and retest this level here. And what's really interesting is once we get this bar here, now it looks like we're trying to make this move higher. And if you guys watched the last trade review, I always like to put these little notes to myself in this. And then this note right here is more or so a commentary I wanted to know because I knew that I was recording this live. If I was going to post this on YouTube, I wanted to put this in here. Is it all boils down to trusting your process. So once you're in the trade, you have to execute according to your process and according to your plan, and you have to deal with that uncertainty head on. You will never know the outcome, and what happens is when you're dealing with uncertainty, it's very uncomfortable. So you just want to mitigate that feeling of being uncomfortable, and what do? You just close out of that position. So right here, I just put, I cannot control uncertainty, embrace it. You're going to feel uncomfortable. You have no idea what could happen. You could either make money, you could lose money, you could lose a lot of money, you could make a lot of money. So the uncertainty is what kills you in the position. You have no idea what this move is going to do. So then now we're getting a move into this 120.11 target. And you can see me, I'm trying to at least exit some into this level here. I don't want to see us just push up after this big spike, fail this level here. So I'm locking in a few more. As you can see, decay hit these quite heavily here. But overall, that was that first target that I was talking about. So I'm going to be covering a few into this region right here. And I believe I tried to fill this at 2. Let's see, filled at 202. So now we're going to let this pan out here, and I'm covering more. As you can see, the net position is still 11, so I still have a bulk of this move here. And let's go see to where I must have exited one here. Okay, let's go back a few here. Okay, so here we get a big spike through, and now I'm trying to cover here as this thing is just ripping to the upside. I'm going to just sell market into this spike. 2.59. This is already up almost, what is this, 75% from a 150 to a 140 entry. And then as this thing continues to rip higher, I'm still exiting on this limit order here. So I still have 8. And as we continue to get a move here, I'm trying to find the executions because this is over an hour trade here. So decent amount of time here on this. Let's go back here as we get this move here. Trying to find the exact spot. So here you can see P&L already is up 1,800 and still have 832 on the open contracts here, which is like whatever that may be. And let's go back here. So go back right here. So here it's getting a very, very nice push and up almost 100% here. If we're up 100%, I'm going to be, if my stop is still down here, I want to be covering risk into that. So we get this push up here, trying to fill this 305, I believe. I don't know if this one filled or if I filled 3. But still 100% move from this entry down here of this back through open. I have that order out there. Let's see what it ends up getting filled at. I believe it ends up getting filled at 3, if I recall. So I have this pending limit order here. Yeah, fills at $3. So now I'm still in with 5 here. And as this thing trends, I'm just letting it work out. And now that we're up so much here, and let's actually, so you can see I sold another one here, a 380. I'm left with 4. Now that I'm down to a really small portion of my position, I mentioned that I wanted to break down the trailing mechanism on this. Now I'm moving to a 15-minute bar trail. So I locked in a good portion of this. And by me doing a 15-minute bar trail, essentially only trailing out of these runners when we break the prior bars low on a 15-minute, I know for a fact this is going to be a good winning trade in terms of the trail already is up into 120.66. So I know at most I can expect these contracts to still trail me out in profit. And this gives me room to let this thing trend. So as we get this, we're still continuing higher. Like this is up into 475 from a 150 entry, an incredible move here. You can see 2,500 with a 1,200 open on the P&L. Very, very strong trending move here. And then we continue here, and it's still on a 15-minute bar trail. So as long as we're above this 15-minute prior bars low, I'm still into this position, and there's nothing for me to do. So you can see we try to get this move higher, and I'm just writing these notes so when I go back and review the trade, this is what was going through my mind. And now we're back in the high of day, 475 on these premiums, but there's nothing for me to do. All I have to do is just trail this out. So we get a move here and we get closer, and now my trail is at this 15-minute bars low right here, which is 122.23. So I have these, let's go back here. I'm trailing out right here in anticipation of this 122.23 to break is like 5 cents off. So anticipating this break here, and that is my trail mechanism. So you can see just trailing on this 15-minute prior bar low ends up stopping me out here in a really big move here from 118 all the way up into almost 124 on this. So that is the back through open, the live execution. Now let me go in and break down the particular setup here. So let me go ahead and break down NVDA here from a technical wise perspective and why this was on watch. The first thing being, we got this huge slam lower here on earnings, or after earnings we gap up into 135. We didn't even trade above the open and we just slammed lower into 120. So a really exhaustive selling move to the downside, but this is a day 2 earnings move. So after that initial day and after funds adjust their targets, a lot of institutions will manage their position on the second day after an earnings report. So not on the first day, they digest that information, and then on the second day, they're going to be managing that position. So on this day 2 move, I always look for a strong bounce move, especially after a strong selling bar like this on NVIDIA. The second thing on this is the sentiment was terrible. It's like NVIDIA's rally is over. NVIDIA is bringing down the AI sector, NVIDIA crashing, things like that. And it was just a move and a profit taking from this gap up off of earnings. It was nothing more than that. The sentiment was really, really bad. And when you look at this from an hourly chart, this is nothing more than a higher low off of here. So if you look at this from the daily, it is nothing more than a higher low here. And now it looks like this thing wants to retrace and make this move higher. So I was looking at it for a back through open in terms of a second day or a day 2 earnings move where we can get this strong inside move here in this close higher. So that was going to be the main thesis. If we put in a higher low here, we get a strong inside bar here on the daily chart. That was what I wanted to see. So we get that move lower, and then we go into the 5-minute chart, and what looks really good here is this tried to break down on this second 5-minute bar, puts in this strong move, and then actually we just get a higher low off the opening print here that triggers here for then this trending move to the upside. And actually these contracts, they decayed a ton, but actually ended up closing at like 575. So a really, really good move on them into that end of day. But when we go in here, what's really interesting too is we end up just sweeping this pre-market low. Now, I'm not just going to enter because we sweep the pre-market low. We need an actual trade and a trigger and a setup, but a really interesting move where we slam this pre-market low and we immediately slam this higher. So anybody shorting below this pre-market low is now trapped. Anybody off of this big bar here that's shorting, they're probably thinking of covering after getting a move from 135 to 115 in 2 days. So a short who has to cover turns into a buy order, which adds to this explosive move to the upside here. So at the same time, we're cracking these lows, we're getting the thought in the back of our head that anybody who's shorting down here is trapped, and then all of a sudden we're able to put in this trend structure here off of this 117.89 area. But what's also interesting at the same time is when we look at /NQ, this did nothing more than push down into support and then immediate slam higher here. So this thing sweeps its pre-market low here, slams higher, and then gets a trend. So we get the market confirmation in our favor in a very extended move to the downside that can see a little bit of a relief rally. And adding that on top of the individual setup on NVIDIA made for a very explosive move on this back through open setup here. I hope you guys enjoyed this detailed in-depth breakdown. As always, if you enjoyed this video, if you could give it a thumbs up and subscribe, it would be greatly appreciated. And let us know down below how your guys' trading has been, what type of videos you would like to see, and if you enjoyed this content. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys all have a great weekend.